Pandemic. Written by Mahi Kohansal. Narrated by 𝐸𝐴𝐻. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents either are a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental. Copyright 2021. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced or used in any manner without written consent of the copyright owner, except for the use of quotations in a book review. For more information, address mahi.kohansal@gmail.com. Chapter 1. It was a warm, sunny day in Beijing. Dr. Zhang kissed his wife and 5-year-old daughter on the cheek before he left. "I'll try to be back around 8, but don't wait on me for dinner. I might be a bit late." As he was driving to the hospital, Dr. Zhang could hear the ambulance's sirens getting louder and more frequent. When he arrived, everyone except the patients was wearing protective gowns and face shields, nothing like the calmness of yesterday morning. What's going on? He wondered. Did they find a hotspot somewhere in Beijing and bring all the patients here? Oh God, this cannot be the second wave. 6 months ago, a new virus emerged in different parts of the country. The first patients showed up at the hospitals with respiratory problems, high fever, and sometimes even heart failure. The symptoms were very similar to the regular flu, though. So, naturally, most of the doctors, unaware of the new virus that was spreading quickly among the population, treated patients with common flu medications. Some patients recovered in a few days. Others had to be hospitalized. A small percentage displayed incredibly severe symptoms and died, despite being treated in the intensive care unit. The memories of those days suddenly came flooding back to Dr. Zhang. Everyone in white gowns and face shields, rushing from one room to the other, barely talking to each other. He remembered the long hours of intensive work, witnessing patients dying every day, many of them alone in the last hours of their life. No, we need to stop it as fast as possible. We cannot tolerate another few months of this disaster. He immediately put on a gown and a face shield and rushed to the nursing station. Someone was standing there, her backwards towards him. Under so many layers of covers, Dr. Zhang could not recognize who it was. She was talking on the phone. "Yes, we still have 10 beds free. Bring them here." She hung up. Dr. Zhang recognized her voice. It was Finn. She was his favorite nurse in the hospital, experienced, hardworking, and reliable. "Finn, what's going on?" Finally, she looked back and saw Dr. Zhang standing behind her. "Oh, doctor, you're here. Well, I'm not sure exactly, but we have almost 100 patients with very suspicious symptoms this morning." Dr. Zhang interrupted her. "Lack of breath, fever, and coughing, all progressing very fast. We had one of them yesterday, but he tested negative for the novel virus." "Yes, we read your report on yesterday's patient, but there's still no result from the central lab. Whatever it is, it's very contagious. Every hour we get more and more patients. They better come back with the results soon. This doesn't seem good. Anyway, where can I help?" "I just got the call from the emergency unit. They're bringing another 5 patients in a few minutes. Maybe you can attend to them. I have to run to room 209. I have a patient in there in critical condition, and I'm her primary nurse. More nurses are coming from other wards of the hospital to help. Just wait here for them." She turned and ran toward room 209. In room 209, a woman in her 50s was lying on the bed. Her teenage daughter was at her bedside, confused and shocked by what she had seen from that morning in the hospital. The woman coughed very heavily. Struggling to breathe, Finn started preparing the patient for the tubing they were going to put in her lungs. "Excuse me, I know everyone is busy here, but can you tell me what's happening to my mom?" her daughter asked shyly. Finn looked at the girl. Her lips and eyes were trembling from stress. Finn softened her voice and replied, "Your mom has a problem breathing. Unfortunately, we have a lot of patients with similar problems, but we aren't sure why yet. The symptoms are similar to the disease that spread at the beginning of the year, but we couldn't find any traces of the virus in their blood. For now, we just have to reduce the symptoms until we find out what's causing them." Finn stopped explaining and looked back at the girl. "By the way, how did you get into this ward? We normally don't accept any visitors for our patients in the infectious disease department, especially in cases like this." The girl looked even more uncomfortable, put her head down, and answered quietly. They gave me the gown and mask to wear in the ambulance when we were coming here. I don't think anybody realized that I'm a visitor. Well, you were lucky. Most patients don't get to be with their loved ones here. Since you're here, can you help me transfer your mom from the gurney to the bed? We don't have any other staff. Everyone is busy, Finn said quickly. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll take her upper body. You take her legs. On my count, grab the bed sheet beneath her and put it onto the other bed. Ready? The girl nodded. 1, 2, 3. They moved the woman onto the other bed. Fortunately, she was very slim, and they didn't have any problem moving her. As soon as they put the woman on the bed, Finn started to put in the tubing. The woman was coughing so hard that she couldn't say a word. She was just following Finn with her eyes. The daughter took her mom's hand in hers and whispered, "It's going to be fine, Mom. Don't worry." In less than half an hour, Finn connected the woman to the respiratory machine. Okay, her condition should be stable for some time. The machine helps her breathe easier. Keep your eye on the machine, and as soon as the alarm goes off, find me or any other nurse to take care of it. Okay? Yes, the girl replied. Finn was leaving the room when she heard the girl's quiet, trembling voice. Will my mom be okay? Finn stopped and looked at the girl. She was about to cry. Finn put her hand on the girl's shoulder. We'll do what we can to help her. Don't worry. Finn didn't have any more time to calm down the girl. She had to take care of the rest of the patients. Don't forget, if the alarm goes off, find someone to check on her, Finn said, walking toward the door. Over the next few hours, everyone in the hospital was sure they were facing another breakout. The only thing they didn't know was the exact source of the disease. All of the beds in the hospital were soon occupied, and new patients had to stay in the corridors. Finn had been working for over 12 hours straight. She was exhausted by the layers of gowns and masks and gloves that had her sweating more and more. What's going on outside? Are they sending all the new patients here? There should be at least a few other hospitals in this area. Are they also as full? She wondered. She was in the middle of an intubation procedure for the 10th time that day when she heard a voice calling her. It was the girl from the morning. My mom, she isn't feeling well. She's breathing heavier and faster. What should I do? Can you come and check on her? I can't now. I need another few minutes here. I'll come afterward. Try to find another nurse. There must be someone that's less busy, Finn replied. The girl left the room without another word. It took Finn half an hour to finish her work. Once she was done, she immediately went to room 209. 2 nurses stood at the bedside of the woman. Her daughter stood in the corner silent. Finn came closer. What is it? Can I help? Not anymore. She passed a few minutes ago, one of the nurses replied. What happened? Low level of oxygen in her blood. When we found her, her skin had already turned blue. A few minutes later, her internal organs failed, the other nurse replied. Finn looked back at the girl, still standing in the corner of the room. She wasn't crying, she was just staring at the bed where her mom was lying. Are you okay? Finn asked. The girl looked back at Finn. She was fine yesterday. An hour ago, she was trying to tell me something, but with all the tubes in her mouth, she couldn't. The girl's eyes were wide open, in disbelief at what had just happened. Finn hugged the girl. She was around 16 or 17. I'm so sorry. Sometimes it happens very fast. I don't know what this is, but we lost a few others in the same way. Do you have anyone to call? My father, but he's out of the country for a business trip. Do you have anyone else in the city who can come get you? No, only my grandma, but she's too old and sick herself. The rest of the family lives in another city in the west. Look, you need to go home. They'll call your family later to come and get her body. The girl started to cry, as if she just understood what had happened. Her mom was gone, and soon they would take her body away too. Finn didn't know what else to do. If it were a normal day, she would stay with her and try to find a family member or someone to help the girl. But today, she was far too busy for that. She couldn't spend any more time with the girl. Go home. There's nothing you can do here. She's gone. The girl was still crying when Finn left her alone in the room with her mom's body. It was 2 a.m. Finn could barely stand on her feet. She had been working for over 18 hours with no rest. She felt dizzy and lightheaded. She knew if she continued like this, she would soon collapse. She had to go home, at least for a few hours. When she was leaving the ward, she saw Dr. Zhang in the corridor. I'm going home for a few hours. I'll be back as soon as I can. What about you, doctor? Are you going home anytime soon? No, I don't think so. There are too many patients here. We've asked for help from other hospitals, but so far, they haven't sent anyone. I wonder if they know what's going on here. They should know by now. I'm also puzzled. Why are they sending all the patients here? If it continues like this, we'll have to choose which patients to take care of. We can't handle all of them. I'll try to talk to the head of the hospital again. Hopefully, by the time you're back, we'll have some help from the rest of the hospitals. Try to rest as much as you can. I don't want to lose one of our best nurses in the hospital to exhaustion. Thank you, doctor. I'll be back as soon as I can, Finn replied. Finn lived alone in a flat close to the hospital. As soon as she got home, she took a quick shower and made herself a sandwich and herbal tea. Once she ate her food, she dragged herself to bed. The moment her body felt the softness of the bed, she felt her muscles relax. She took a deep breath. Nothing was better than lying down after such a long day at work. She fell asleep immediately. 5 hours later, Finn woke up to the sound of her phone ringing. It took her a few minutes to open her eyes and remember she was at home. She dragged herself out of bed and grabbed the phone. Yes, hello. Finn Yang speaking. Hello, Miss Yang? I'm calling from the hospital's head office. We were informed that you had a shift from yesterday until this morning, working with the infectious disease ward. Is that right? It was a female voice on the other side of the line. Yes, I came home a few hours ago, Finn confirmed. We need you to come back to the hospital as soon as possible. It's a matter of great urgency, the woman said. Okay, I was planning to come soon anyway. All right, thank you. And one more thing. As far as we know, you used your private car for commuting? Is that true? Yes, it takes me 10 minutes to get to the hospital. And you live alone? Finn was hesitant to answer. Such strange questions, she thought. But she didn't have any energy or time to protest it. Yes, I do. Perfect. Thank you for your cooperation. The woman hung up. Finn was confused. She sat on a chair in her kitchen for a few minutes. She was still tired, but felt much better than before. At least she could stand up without getting dizzy now. What was that call? So strange. From the office of the head of the hospital? To tell me personally that I have to be there? They must really be short on nurses. 30 minutes later, Finn was back at the hospital. Nothing had changed in the last few hours. All of the beds were still occupied, and the doctors and nurses were running from one patient to the next. Finn, what are you doing here? I thought you went home. It was Dr. Zhang. Oh, hello, doctor. Yes, I was at home for 2 or 3 hours. Then I got a call from the hospital. They asked me to get here as soon as possible for an emergency case. Do you know what's going on? No, not exactly. We haven't gotten any help from the other hospitals yet, but the number of patients is stabilizing. We only had a few new cases in the last couple of hours. Either there are no more cases, or they took them to another hospital. Who did you talk with? Dr. Zhang asked. It was someone from the director's office. Don't worry, doctor. I'll find out what's going on and I'll let you know. She left the room. 10 minutes later, the speakers in the whole hospital asked everyone to gather in the main conference hall. Dr. Zhang was one of the last ones to arrive. Just before he entered the hall, 2 security guards asked him to leave his phone and other electronic devices in a box. Then, he passed through a temporary security gate at the entrance of the hall and finally entered. It was crowded, with a few hundred people in the main hall. Dr. Zhang knew some of them, doctors, nurses, and other hospital staff members. But there were some unfamiliar faces, too. All were confused, asking each other if anyone knew what was going on. Attention, attention. It was the voice of the hospital director coming through the speaker. Dear colleagues, patients, and patients' visitors, this is the hospital director. We asked all of you to come to the hall to inform you about a complicated situation we're all in. As you might have realized by now, we have observed a new surge of viral infection in the last 2 days. We now know that this surge of infections was caused by a mutated version of the virus that was spread half a year ago, resulting in more severe cases. Since we still know very little about the mutated virus, we have decided to quarantine everyone that was in contact with it in a location close to here for a few days to gather more information about the virus. In order to move you to the new location as smoothly as possible, we asked General Jiang and his unit to help us with the transition. They will direct you to the buses that are ready for departure. But before you leave, we ask you to tell us with whom you have been in contact in the last 2 days. There is a list at the exit door where you can write down the names and addresses of your contacts. And lastly, don't worry about your family members and loved ones. We will inform them about the situation, and you can contact them from the new location. Thank you for your cooperation." The speakers went silent. For a few seconds, there was complete silence in the room, and then suddenly, it was engulfed with the voices of people complaining and protesting. "Where is this new place? How long will we be in quarantine? What about our families? We should tell them where you're taking us."